You're watching Let the Quran Speak. One of the most jarring moments in the Quran is when Khidr kills an innocent boy. How do we understand what took place? We're looking at this as part of our Misunderstood Quranic Verses series. Dr. Shabir, welcome to Let the Quran Speak.
Pleasure to be on.
The verse we are looking at is from chapter 18, it's verse 74, and it goes like this. So they set out until when they met a boy. Al-Khidr killed him. Moses said, "Have you killed a pure soul? For other than having killed a soul, you have certainly done a deplorable thing." This is from the Sahih International translation of the verse, Dr. Shabir. So how do we understand this story?
Yeah, so we should first clarify that the word Khidr, the name Khidr is not in the Arabic of that verse.
Okay.
It's just given in the English translation to make it more comprehensible once we are taking the one verse out of its context. Otherwise, within the context, we'll have to figure out who is who. And with the verse by itself, the two of them went and he killed him. So it's not clear who killed who, right? So that's why the name is inserted there. Otherwise, as we explained previously, the name Khidr is not mentioned in the Quran. It's only found in extra Quranic Islamic traditions. But coming down to the gist of the matter now, or the crux of the question is how could Khidr kill the boy? Now, our discussion here is going to be closely related to what we discussed.
He's supposed to be a good person, right? Or a good soul, right? Somebody who's blessed by God, I believe.
Yeah. I was going to say that this is so closely related to our previous discussion of verse 65 in the same surah that some repetition is inevitable. But now, we're dealing with this verse gives us a chance to focus more on what the classical commentary said about Khidr killing the boy. Now, in the Quran, Musa alayhi salam is shocked. And as you said, it's a surprising moment for almost any reader coming to this. How could this figure, who previously was introduced as one who was granted knowledge from God and described as one of the servants of God, and he's there to teach Moses. So Moses is following him, saying, teach me some of what God has taught you. So this is what God has taught him. So this is a surprise. Now, he had prescribed for the prophet Musa, that you're not to ask me anything until I volunteer to explain to you about what I'm doing. So Musa alayhi salam had Moses, peace be upon him, had agreed to this condition and followed along. And, he comes, he kills the boy. So Moses asks, "Aqatalta nafsan zakiyatan bighayri nafs?" You have killed an innocent soul who did not do any wrong. Musharraf Hussain puts it that way because that captures the essence of it. But technically in the verse, it's how there is the capital punishment, which says that you cannot kill a soul except if that soul had killed another soul. So there can be just retaliation or just prescription of capital punishment for manslaughter or murder. And so here's a boy who didn't do anything wrong. Why are you killing this boy? That is the protest. And he said, well, I made a condition, you're not going to ask me. And of course, later on, he explains his action. He says that this boy was the child of righteous parents. And فَخَشِينَا أَنْ يُرْهِقَهُمَا طُغْيَانًا وَكُفْرًا. And we feared that the we here probably means himself and God, because he's now on the side of God. He's always on the side of God. But he and God, they fear that this boy will be ungrateful to his parents, and he will be rebellious against them. فأرادنا أن يبدلهما ربهما خيرا منه زكاة وأقرب رحمة. And we wished that their Lord, the Lord of these two parents, that means God, obviously, would give them in his stead another child who will be better for them in terms of being merciful and so on. So this is the plan of God. So obviously there's a good outcome here. But the way in which this is dealt with in the classical Islamic commentaries, is even more shocking than the verse itself. Because if we take the view, as Maududi expounded, that Khidr was an angel, And the command that he received from God is similar to the command in other cases to, give health to this other person or give, let this person die, then this is understandable. In the Quran, God says in one place, "Tawaffatu rusuluna," our messengers take him, like they take the soul of the individual. Another verse says, فَكَيْفَ إِذَا تَوَفَّتْهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ, and how will it be for them when the angels take their souls? So the angels caused the death of individuals on the commandment of God, and this could be very subtle. A person could be in one's deathbed having lived a long life of, let's say, close to a century, and then, the person passes away peacefully. The angels have taken the soul of this individual. It doesn't have to involve anything that we would consider violent on this earth. So the Quran does not specify how the angel killed the boy. It's only known to Musa that the angel killed the boy. And Musa alayhi salam is asking, why did you kill this boy? Because a boy is not expected to die, as opposed to the centenarian who has lived a long life and accomplished much. Here is a boy. Ghulam in Arabic could mean a boy who has just turned into maturity or just below maturity, maybe a boy in his early teens. So is an innocent child. How do you kill the innocent child? So regardless of the method that you have used, peaceful or otherwise, you are taking the life of an innocent boy. Why? And this is the question of every parent. Why did you take my child, God, please? I want to understand. Of course, we can't question God by way of rejecting, but we can ask to understand. And
Dr. Shabir, you mentioned the classical commentaries and how their description is more vicious than what would you see in the Quran, right? So how does it rely a lot on external stories, these classical commentators?
Sometimes there are external stories, sometimes they are just simply guesses. So two people are talking to each other and they're discussing this verse and they're asking, well, how? And one person suggests, well, it could have been like this. And then the other person takes that and runs with it. And, eventually this is bandied about and eventually gets written into the commentaries as if this is a fact, like it happened this way. And I almost hesitated to mention what exactly they said. But now that you've brought me back to that point, Safiya, some of them said that he hit the head of the boy against the wall, and that caused the boy's death. Some others said that he took a rock and hit the head of the boy with the rock, and that caused his death. Some said he took out a knife and slaughtered the boy.
So where are they getting this stuff from?
Well, again, it could, and they're not tracing it to any identifiable source. These look like just guesses that eventually came to be written in the books of tafsir. And when something is written in ink, people take it this must be true, right? And especially it's in such, the works of such great commentators that we adore and we respect. So we just have to be realistic about what is there in our classical sources so that we do not get misled just because of a name, a big name behind this, and therefore it must be true. And some said, horror of horrors, that, he just simply plucked the head of the boy off his body. So we have to take this all with a grain of salt and realize that, if we understand Khidr to be an angel, he doesn't need any violent means. He could take the soul of the person as smoothly as, a hair is pulled out of a jar of butter. And it doesn't need any of this, elaborate and mythical type of discourse.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Dr. Shabir.
You're welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Muslim Media Hub, the new home of Let the Quran Speak.
Here we spread positivity and good. We help people experience the beauty of Islam and help them appreciate and understand Muslims.
This beautiful building we purchased at cost $2.3 million.
Yeah, we've already raised a third of that money, and with your help, inshallah, we can pay off the rest.
So we're looking for people who can give $1,000 each. If you can be part of the select group, that's amazing.
Otherwise, just please give whatever wherever you can. Every dollar counts.
It's our collective responsibility to share the message of Islam with our fellow human beings. Please help us continue this good work.
It's a sadaqah jariyah, something that will continue to be a benefit to the Muslim community long after Safiya and I are gone.
Please support our work at muslimmediahub.com.
Your support is zakat eligible and tax deductible.
May Allah bless you and your loved ones today and always. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.